two, one, and we are live for a new episode of Electrek Podcast. I'm Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing, Seth?
I'm good.
All right. I'm uh, I'm not at home right now. I went all the way up to Chicoutimi on north of Quebec, and next week I'm also traveling to Las Vegas. So not on the usual studio for the podcast for the next 2 weeks, but we'll make it work. And we're still producing articles like crazy because right now, I mean, it's a crazy time, especially for covering Tesla. So we're gonna, as usual, tell you the latest news about Tesla this week, and it was pretty crazy stuff. Then we're gonna get into Tesla's biggest competitor globally, BYD, came out swinging this week with a big charging upgrade and some news about rollout of new models in Europe. The Renault 5 Turbo 3E was unveiled, and this thing is a crazy hot hatch. We're gonna get into that, and then a cheap electric pickup coming from Korea that we might see in other markets that could be interesting. All right, but first off, we'll give you the little update on the I use the headline Tesla hate goes biblical. It's a reference to YouTube video that went viral this week from a guy I didn't know about called Atriarch, which is kind of a, I guess, kind of a business YouTuber, and he did an amazing video on the Tesla situation right now, kind of breaking it down for the layman, for people that are just not aware. Like, obviously on the podcast here, you get like weekly updates of what happened every week, like more up to date. So for someone like you, it might not be the greatest post, but it's something that you can send, like if you want to give someone a primer on the situation. And that post, I think, was posted, yeah, that was like last weekend. So it even became more through this week as things are getting crazy. You still have the protests, the peaceful protests, which are ramping up. This week, the people the grassroots movement behind the protest, they organized some kind of town hall meeting online, and there was like a few celebrities in there, including like Alex Winters, who have been involved in it since the beginning. It was one of the start people who started the Tesla takedown program movement. There was even John Cusack was there.
Oh,
Is it John? Yeah, John Cusack, I think.
yeah, one crazy
Famous.
story.
Yeah, and yeah, they basically are ramping up to have next week's going to be like the biggest week of Tesla protests, especially in March 29th. I think they're planning something huge. So all of this is peaceful protest, but separately you have the vandalism that it's also ramping up like crazy, and obviously we condemn the vandalism. But this week in Las Vegas, there were a bunch of cars that were set on fire. In Kansas, and arson was suspected, of course. In Kansas City, also two Cybertrucks on fire. Arson team was there, but they were still. Last time I checked, they were still investigating the issue. So arson is suspected, and obviously with the current context, it's very likely, but they couldn't confirm it either. So, and we know that Tesla vehicles can also catch on fire by themselves, but it's pretty rare. But Seth, this is kind of like if Tesla ever had like an issue with batteries taking catching on fire a la GM Chevy Bolt or Jaguar High Pace, something like that. That would be like the best time ever for that to happen for them because they have a pretty good excuse.
Yeah, there's a reason for all the fires.
Yeah, right now it's pretty obvious what it is. But with all the vandalism, and I mean, this is just two examples. They've been in Hamilton in Ontario yesterday, I think, or the day before, no, on Wednesday. There were 80 vehicles that were damaged at
Eight
a
zero.
Tesla location. 80, yeah,
Wow.
over 80, and it was they punctured all the tires, they scratched the hoods and all that. That was like insane stuff. And obviously what we're seeing now is on the other side of these things. Last week it was Elon saying that it was the Democrats behind that, the Ag Blue Pack and all that, without any evidence whatsoever. And now things are ramping up. We had Trump saying that they should be characterized as domestic terrorism, any kind of violence against Tesla stores. And we're just talking about Tesla property here, of course. Like, I haven't seen any violence against actual like Tesla people yet, thank God. Um, but yeah, and they apparently they did it. They made domestic terrorism to do any kind of attacks, vandalism on Tesla property. And the Attorney General announced that she filed charges against 3 people that were found to have been behind vandalism at Tesla stores in Colorado, in Oregon, and there was another one too. And she says in her press release on that, she said that we continue to investigate. We'll continue investigation that impose severe consequences on those involved in these attacks, including those operating behind the scene to coordinate and fund these crimes. So she is alleging that there are people behind this. This is not individual trying to attack Tesla. She didn't supply any proof of that, of course. Trump also echoed her statement in an interview this week. She said the left is funding them, again, without any evidence whatsoever. Trump yesterday, I don't know if you saw that, said even tweeted out that he wants to send the Tesla vandals to El Salvador, to the prison where he supposedly sent those gang members that weren't properly trialed at all.
Right. So like way worse than the insurrectionists.
Yeah, I mean, they were pardoned, so like, a lot worse. I mean, I guess they did a few years in jail, but not even that. But
so Tesla would be worse to vandalize than the Capitol. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, exactly. They're not getting any pardons.
Right, that makes sense.
So yeah, the hate around Tesla right now is all-time high. Both illegal hate, like vandalism, not okay, shouldn't do that. Peaceful protest, perfectly fine. That's also an all-time high, way higher, way more important, I would say, than the vandalism. The vandalism is becoming a real issue. I'm not gonna deny it, but I think for Tesla, right now, the biggest problem is those protests. Imagine these protests, like they ramp up, like the Tesla takedown movement said they would, like we expect them to, basically, and at the very end of the quarter, the next 2 weeks, when Tesla has to ramp up production like crazy, you have giant picket lines around all the Tesla stores all over the U.S. This is not an ideal situation for Tesla, to say the least. And
it's just so interesting that things are swapping so much. Like, for instance, we posted on our social media a guy rolled coal on the Tesla protesters. Like, it's just such a weird, everybody's switching teams all of a sudden, and it's just a very weird thing. Like, all of a sudden Tesla's aligned with the coal rollers. Like, that's just such a weird, like everybody's switching
not only
teams.
that, the coal rollers used to roll coal Tesla vehicles because they hated Tesla.
Right.
So you would think now that people are protesting Tesla, they would be on the side of the people protesting Tesla. But no, they are rolling coal on those protesters. So it's like the whole world like flip upside down. And you did found a post of someone on a Tesla shareholder board saying that he's on the side of the rolling coal guy that's just emitted a ton of emission, that like probably more emission than a Tesla vehicle would reduce over like half its lifetime.
Right.
and in the face of a bunch of people, which is also illegal. So like crazy stuff. And Tesla is feeling the heat right now. There's no doubt about it. We don't have that many new numbers so far, but we have a few things because we won't get that much until the next month for the Q1 numbers and the March numbers. But we do have a good idea. For example, the used car prices at Tesla is falling right now at 3 times the rest of the market. So you look at the Car Guru index. In the last year, Tesla, over the last year, the market is down 2.6% for used car. Tesla is down 7.26%. In the last 90 days, which is a lot more like indicative of what happened with like the more recent hate, let's say. The market is down 1.12 versus down 3.7 for Tesla. Last 30 days, the Tesla is up slightly 0.05, but that's with the market being up 0.3, so it's still a big difference. And then if we break things down by models, you get a much idea. For example, the idea that Tesla is up within the last 30 days is kind of weird because it's really just affect the Model X. Oh, am I back?
Yep.
Looks like I'm back. Not sure about set, but yeah. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I'm in an hotel right now. The internet was pretty good, but looks like it not liking the live stream so far. So only the Model X is up. You have a better idea of like Model 3 down 4% in just 90 days. Model Y 2.9% in 90 days. Cybertruck down all over 11% in the last 90 days, 58% year over year, which is crazy. But that's, I mean, a year ago, people were still trying to like make a buck reselling the Cybertruck. So it's not surprising that it's down by that much. So yeah, the used car prices are going down fast. And that's because the trade-ins are off the hook right now. So people are trading the Tesla like crazy. So higher supply, lower demand. The price have to go down for people to move inventory. So it's pretty bad. But the most concerning thing of all that happened this week, and it didn't get enough traction for people because people completely misreported this news, is that the Model Y. So then all the Tesla fans right now are, and especially the shareholders, are holding on to the idea that the new Model Y is going to save the day, and because Model Y is Tesla's best-selling vehicle, it's the best-selling vehicle in the world. It was last year, so they're like, all right, now with the new refresh, it's going to be a bad quarter now, but then things are going to ramp up in the second half of the year, and it's going to be great. Problem is that we're not seeing strong demand for the Model Y right now. In China is the first market in which it launched, and China is the biggest EV market in the world, most important EV market. So the data coming from there is the most important one. And the one thing that we were looking at is Tesla has been having issues selling in China for the last year or so because of increased competition, had to introduce 0% interest financing rates. And this year they brought it back for the Model 3. They didn't for the Model Y because we assumed they were enjoying a boost of demand with the backlog for shutting down the launching the new version of the vehicle a few weeks without deliveries, or just not deliveries, but they were only delivering the old version, the inventory that they had left, moving on to the new one. And now we were looking at when Tesla reintroduces the 0% financing on the new Model Y. This is probably going to be a bad sign because that's when they are starting to run out of demand. They exhausted the backlog that they had from the changeover. Personally, I mean, I'm not very optimistic about Tesla's demand in 2025, and I estimated this to not happen for another 3 or 4 months. But Tesla this week introduced 0% financing on the Model Y rear-wheel drive, and this is where the people got confused because two things happened. Tesla introduced 0% financing on Model Y rear-wheel drive, the new version, the new Model Y, because they still have, I think, a few the few old version, and they increase the price of the all-wheel drive by $1,000 and about 10,000 yen, which is the equivalent about $1,300 US. So a lot of Tesla fans hold on to that and they're like, "Hey, the demand is great. They even increased their price on the all-wheel drive." But this is nothing because you have to understand Tesla's market in China is about 90% rear-wheel drive. Some estimates put it closer to 95%. So out of 10 cars that Tesla sold, out of 10 Model Y that Tesla sold in China, only one is an all-wheel drive. So what happens here is that obviously Tesla set up production for much higher rear-wheel drive production than all-wheel drive. However, with the new version, you have a lot of people of like super Tesla fans that always want the latest version and they want the top version of that new trim. So they go with the all-wheel drive, creates a little bit more of demand, and especially if you have lower production. So the delivery timeline for the long-range all-wheel drive in China is 6 to 10 weeks. So obviously there's pretty good demand for that. So they increase the price to squeeze a little bit more money out of the customers. But on the other end, the rear-wheel drive is most of the vehicle that Tesla is going to deliver, and a 0% financing is the equivalent of a $2,000 price reduction on the car. That's how much Tesla subsidized the new financing, comparing to the rate, which right now is like 4.5%. So going from 4.5 to 0 is like $2,000, and it's normally a little bit more because to be fair, Tesla didn't go all in with it. They still require you like a 30% deposit. So with the 30% deposit, normally it's more than that. So we'd put it at around $2,000. But if they go down to the regular 10% deposit, then it's going to be a $3,000 incentive. So, and this is confirmed by the fact that you still have a delivery timeline of 2 to 4 weeks for the rear-wheel drive in China. So this was obviously super bad news that wasn't digested well, I think, by the market. All right, another bad news for Tesla this week. They had to recall every single Cybertruck they ever made. This, I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit because we called it last week at Electrek. We had a report on this where we saw that it was a containment hold, and it was not clear what was the containment hold exactly, but I found one message from a Tesla employee that said that it had to do with the Kent rail here. That's the trim that's over the windows next to the roof. And it was falling off, basically. So it was I wasn't sure there was going to be a recall because it's not necessarily dangerous in itself, but you can make the argument, obviously, that if it falls off while driving and it becomes an hazard on the road, then it is a safety issue. So they did have to issue a recall here. Now, the surprising thing is that they're recalling all Cybertruck made from November 13 to February 27, 2025. November 13, 2023, which was the start of production, to February 27, 2025. So it's all Cybertrucks basically ever made except for this month. But I think it looks like Tesla shut down production earlier this month because of this issue. And sure enough, in the recall notice, they did say that they didn't have the recall notice was yesterday. They hadn't implemented the fix at the production level yet. That was supposed to be done today, I think. So now they're going to restart production with the correct fix. And by the way, the correct fix it's pretty sad. So this bulletproof Cybertruck with an exoskeleton and all that is indeed all together. Like I reported in my post, there are brackets on there, but for the most part, it is an adhesive, so aka glue. And the issue that they found is that in certain condition, probably in winter condition, in colder condition, the glue could deteriorate, and that's when the trim would start to fall off. So the fix is a better glue. And no, that's not true. It's a better glue, yeah, and a rivet too. They're gonna screw the trail part together so that it at least will never completely fall off. I don't know if you remember, said, but early in the Cybertruck rollout, there was another recall for the accelerator pedal. There was like an applique on the accelerator pedal that would fall off, and that was also the recall. The fix was like, let's just screw a screw right in the middle of that pedal, and then it's going to stay in place. So that's some high-level engineering here from Tesla on the Cybertruck. But now here's the most interesting part of this whole thing. So now Tesla's going to recall all of them, fix that issue. It's going to take a while. It's going to put a load on service and everything. But Tesla disclosed how many Cybertruck they produced. And so produced and delivered in the U.S. So there were a few in Canada and a few in Mexico, but I mean, very negligible volume. 46,096. 46,000 Cybertrucks said. Now, the craziest thing of them all is that if you look at last year's deliveries and the few deliveries in 2023, it looks like Tesla produced, not even sold, is going to have produced in Q1 between 7,000 and 8,000 Cybertruck. That's lower than in Q4. That's lower than in Q3 of last year, amid a full-on production ramp up. Now, the craziest thing is that there are currently 5,000 Cybertruck in inventory at Tesla in the US. So that means they cannot move that truck at all. And then the craziest thing above them all is that in Q1, Tesla Cybertruck gained access to the federal tax credit in the US. Tesla introduced free supercharging on the Foundation series, and offered discounted financing to 2% financing on the truck. All these, the 2% financing is a little bit more recent. I think that was last month, so that couldn't have had a great, massive impact. But still, this is nuts. Like the Cybertruck is not selling at all. It's becoming a problem for Tesla.
Yeah, and it was the biggest. They claimed it was the biggest selling pickup last year, right?
I mean, it was because others are also not selling well. can admit that easily. But also, Tesla was enjoying a giant backlog of reservation last year that is not completely exhausted, and now they cannot sell even, looks like 5,000 a quarter, even though they have a production capacity of 125,000. They said that they are ready for 250,000 a year. Elon said that he sees 500,000 a year. They're having issues selling 25,000 a year. It's nuts.
I wonder what their hope is. Like, are people just going to get over the whole Elon issue at some point here? Everybody's just going to forget about it.
I mean, I think that even in all the best scenarios, like even like Elon leaves and all that, like I don't see the Cybertruck being nowhere near its production capacity in terms of actual volumes, purely from a spec and pricing issue. So I think that's a problem with that. But maybe they salvage it. Maybe they have a new generation of the product that gets a lot better, and it still survives. But right now, I think most of the automakers at this point will have given up on it already. I think Elon is just not capable of giving up on something like that. Like, it would be too much of a hit for him. And that brings us to our few next posts here right now. The panic, like what I'm seeing from Tesla right now is panic. Like, things are not going well this quarter at all. It looks like Tesla's going to deliver about 350,000 vehicles this quarter, which is over 100,000 fewer than last quarter. It's less than in Q1 of last year. It's Adam Jonas, the biggest Tesla cheerleaders on Wall Street, just slashed his delivery expectation for this year by 300,000 units. It's a whole quarter he slashed. It's crazy right now, and there's panic from Elon, I think, especially because Elon has half of his Tesla shares right now as collaterals on billions of dollars worth of loans. And if the stock goes too low, he's going to have a margin call. He's going to have to either refinance, he's going to have to sell his stock, he's going to have to do something. And I don't think Elon wants to do something about that. So last week, there was the Trump ad at the White House, which smell of desperation right there. But this week, they ramped things up even more. I mean, the stock again crashed earlier this week. It regained again because of the pumps that I'm just going to discuss right now. And this honestly, what I'm going to talk to you right now, it's sad that it's happening in the U.S. Like, I'm very sorry for my friends in the U.S., you included, said. It's like next level Banana Republic stuff. And also, it's crazy that I'm the one that led the reporting on this thing. Like, we are a niche electric vehicle outlet. I think this should be like in the New York Times or something. So this week, Trump's U.S. Commerce Secretary went on Fox News and recommended people buy Tesla stock, saying it's never going to be this low. You should buy Tesla stock right now. Okay, that alone is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I did my research. I couldn't find another single example of a sitting U.S. Commerce Secretary publicly recommending a specific stock from a company. Never happened before. This is the first time. But now the context around the first time is the most important thing here. And that's why my expertise in this, like being following this closely, like help. But I think there should be bigger news, because we're talking about Howard Lutnick here. If you don't know him, he's a billionaire. He's the guy behind Cantor Fitzgerald, which is a big investment bank in the U.S. And he's a Tesla investor. In 2022, the firm started investing in Tesla. A little bit, nothing too crazy, but they ramped things up a lot last year, increased the investment a ton. They shaved it up a little bit at the end of the year with the big ramp up after the election, made a pretty penny, a few $100 million, I think. We're pretty close to that. But they still hold over $300 million in Tesla stocks. And now that's the thing. Lutnick also is close to Elon. Elon was pushing for Lutnick to be Treasury Secretary of the Treasury, which is like the highest economical position you can have in the U.S. He tweeted after the election when they were discussing the cabinet. My view, what's that abbreviation? FWYW?
For what it's worth.
For what it's worth, okay. Yeah, well, nothing. It's worth nothing. My view, for what it's worth, is Besant is a business as usual choice, whereas Howard Lutnick will actually enact change. Business as usual is driving America bankrupt, so we need change one way or the other. Now, Trump didn't go with Lutnick. He did go with Besant, another billionaire, but he still Musk still managed to get Lutnick the Secretary of Commerce role, which is the second biggest like economical role in the U.S. So Lutnick is close to Elon. Lutnick is invested in Tesla through Cantor. Now, here's the thing: Lutnick, after being appointed earlier this year, did say that he's going to divest from his firm from Cantor, but he says he's going to do that within 90 days, and we're still within the 90 days, but I've seen no evidence that he has yet divested from the stock. It looks like he still holds like over $1 billion worth of Cantor stock, and Cantor's old Tesla stock. So this is completely inappropriate. Not only you have the sitting U.S. Commerce Secretary recommending a specific stock, which you should never do, that specific stock is linked to the fortune of Elon Musk, who is the biggest political donor of the guy that appointed Lutnick. And Lutnick owns stock in Tesla. It's like mind blown.
Yeah, they're breaking so many like barriers like at once that it's hard to even like point. Like they're breaking them faster than you can even point at them. It's just a big grab right now, like just money grab.
Oh yeah, it's pump and dump all the way. So obviously this is a pump. So Lutnick is, and by the way, even if Lutnick started to divest already, which I've seen no evidence of, his son is now the head of the firm. So it doesn't change anything. But yeah, I was glad I found this photo. So I couldn't find a photo of Lutnick with Elon, and then I found a video online of them getting into a plane or maybe an helicopter, not sure, and then I freeze framed it just at that moment at pure luck. It was perfect. So there was that, and then out of nowhere, Elon himself went all in on the pump yesterday. So it was late at night. I was getting ready to go to bed, and then I see Tesla is going live on X, and I go, no announcement whatsoever. It's called an all ends meeting. I'm like, an all ends meeting. Like I know that Tesla has held all ends meeting in the past, but never publicly. And it was late, of course. Like it took like an hour, but an hour later, Elon came live and started doing the all ends meeting. And I mean, the best comments on all of this. So I did the live blog of it, but that's not the live blog post. That's the follow-up post I did. Our own Jamie Dow Electrek called it. This is AI video trained on Elon video from 10 years ago, basically. It was like classic Elon, just all hitting is main talking points. The thing he says at all the shareholders meetings. So Tesla's going to be the biggest company in the world, several order of magnitude bigger than the next one. Full self-driving coming imminently. You're going to be a shipper and have your fleet of vehicle. Now you're going to be a shipper and have your fleet of robots too. The Optimus robot is going to be the biggest product ever by a wide margin. All the stuff that were used from Elon without like just a overly optimistic timeline and everything. But then that's when the pump started to. He literally asked Tesla shareholders, not Tesla shareholders, Tesla employees, because it's all end meetings. And that's for employees normally. But since it was live streamed publicly, you have to say that he was also talking to the public here. He said, "Hang on to your shares." He said, "Hang on to your shares to your employees and the public." Just as, and that's why I wrote an article on this. It's because it's pretty bold to say that to your employees, as your board members and your top executive, including your CFO, is just dumping shares. We showed there with a little chart here that all the shares that were dumped just over the last 3 months. So that's almost over $150 million over the last 3 months from 4 board members and Taneja, the chief financial officer here, are dumping share. But employees, little employees that barely make $50,000 a year, so like you hold on to your few shares because they're gonna be worth a lot. But even Elon had to admit, like, okay, to be honest, I don't know within like the 6 to 12 months, I don't know what's gonna happen with the share, but long term it's gonna be good. Of course, he says that just as Tesla is about to report. I mean, we still have a month for the earnings, but in a few weeks we're gonna have the delivery report. The worst deliveries that Tesla ever had in 10 or 12 quarters, something like that. Like
years,
talking about over 3 years. Set like Tesla going back in time 3 years in delivery. The company that was growing at 50% a year, going back 3 years behind is crazy stuff. And we were just talking about it for the podcast, but there's a direct correlation between this and Enron. Whereas the chairperson for Enron, right before the quarter, where everything blew up for Enron in 2002, I mean, he held the all ends meeting with employees just before the earnings and said that you should hang on to your stock, you should buy more because everything is looking good, everything is looking great. We're going to be the biggest company in the world. Everything that Elon did last night, he did 23 years ago. It's scary stuff. And at the same time, this week, the Financial Times came out with a report alleging that the $1.4 billion is missing in Tesla's assets report, and that's the same journalist that broke the Wirecard story that's like poking at Tesla's financial right now. The company went bankrupt, or I don't know if it's exactly bankruptcy or insolvency or something like that, but in Europe it's a bit different. But just a few years ago, and now he's poking at Tesla stuff, so it should be interesting. But yeah, the desperation is palpable right now. I can really feel it. All right, we have a few more posts to discuss, and then we're gonna jump into you guys' comments. I see plenty of comments going live right now, but I didn't read it as they go live because I've been pretty animated. But if you guys have any comments for us, any question, you can put them in the comment section below, and get to them in a few minutes. If you do enjoy the show, please give us a thumbs up, a like, whatever it is on the app right now, because we're multi-streaming. That helps a ton. If you're listening to the podcast app right now, if you can give us a 5-star rating in the podcast, it helps a ton. Every week we get attacked with 0-star. Well, I don't think you can do 0-star, but 1-star ratings from these Elon fanatics that just hate us for plainly reporting facts, by the way, and or they say that we talk too much about politics, about Elon. I do think that, especially in North America, where Tesla is by far the biggest EV company, it is the biggest story in the world right now, the brand destruction of Tesla that's brought by Elon Musk. I think it is the biggest story by far. And I can tell you it is because like we report on everything on Electrek, and we see what people are reading, and people are interested in that stuff. So I think it's interesting. We're going to keep talking about it on the podcast until it changes, and we hope it changes, because we don't hate Tesla at Electrek. We don't hate Tesla. We hate what's happening with Tesla, which is completely different. But anyway, let's move on to BYD.
Wait, before we move on,
yep.
1 second.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So what is the best case scenario? Let's talk about this just real quickly. Like, my thing is like, all right, the stock tanks, the board is forced to make a move, get rid of Elon. That also will tank the stock, because half the people that own stock would. So you're talking about the stock just going right into the ground, and then Tesla gets built back up. Maybe Elon sells all his shares or is forced to divest or something like that. And then Tesla, they have enough money in the bank to keep going, and their stock isn't worth much, but they can continue. Maybe they're not as focused on Optimus, or maybe they're not as focused on, AI stuff, but they're still making cars. Is that? I mean, what is the outcome that we want to see or think that's going to happen?
I think you got a pretty good handle on it there. Like, the only way that Tesla survives as a legitimate company, like keeps growing, because I think growth is gone with Elon. So Elon needs to go. And then yes, if Elon goes, the only way for that to happen is for the stock to crash,
right?
The board to be removed, and so the question is then what happens with Tesla once the stock crash and Elon is removed? Like you said, Elon most likely sells the stocks, and that will further reduce Tesla's valuation. But the valuation is the valuation; doesn't really matter more. So Tesla still has like $37 billion if they haven't cooked the books, because obviously the Financial Times now is pointing towards Tesla cooking the books. So if they are not cooking the books, they are sitting on $37 billion, very little debt. They're not in a bad position. Of course, there's a lot of other issues that we discussed before, like the situation with the liability when it comes to full self driving. So the hardware 3, probably the hardware 4. There's going to be some compensation that's going to have to happen there. I doubt that Tesla's going to get away with just reimbursing people that bought FSD. I think there's going to be a lot of lawsuits going on, so that's going to affect Tesla's position also. But if they really have $37 billion, and they can maybe trickle down some assets, some production capacity, some people are going to get fired most likely. Unfortunately, we don't like to see that. I think you can start turning things around from there. Of course, depends on the leadership. So you're going to have, what leadership do you have now? A lot of people left at Tesla right now, I think, are problematic because they are either yes men for Elon Musk, or they actually agree with his clearly inefficient way of running the business, because Tesla is losing sales like crazy. Volumes are going down. They only launched a single vehicle in the last 5 years, and the Cybertrucks, which doesn't sell. So it's not looking good on that front. But you ask for the ideal scenario. Ideal scenario would be that, and then strong management comes in. Maybe some of the people that were let go in the last few years come back. That would be great. We always talk about JB Straubel. We don't know his clear position on Tesla right now, but yeah. So that would be, I think, the ideal situation. But I don't know. We are following this. Even us, we're following this as closely as we can, and it's so hard to predict what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
But let's jump into BYD. That also hurt Tesla a little bit this week because they unveiled their new Super E platform. It's a new 800. I keep saying 800 volt because that's always been the limit for the last few years. But it's actually a 1,000-volt system capable of 1,000 kilowatt charging. So that's absolutely nuts. They're talking about adding 400 kilometers of range in 5 minutes. And this is not political. It's not a concept. They unveiled that this week with a demonstration with the vehicles with the new platform in it. It's next level stuff. I mean, we're talking about peak 800 volt before, 350 kilowatts. There was some 500 kilowatts that was unveiled. Tesla unveiled the V4 supercharger cabinets that are going to be deployed in Q3. So that's coming, but BYD is already there with something even better. So it's very impressive stuff. And on third of the rollout on that, so they have their first one in Shenzhen right now that they use for the demonstration. Yeah, 400 kilometers in 5 minutes. That's 249 miles on a range. They plans to launch that in the new Henhel and Tanghel models in China. So I think those are the top of the line BYDs. I'm not familiar with all BYD's brands. They have quite a few. And they plan to roll out as part of their plan to deploy 4,000 ultra-fast charging stations in China. Impressive stuff.
It's interesting that they have such even, like 1,000 amps, 1,000 watts, or 1,000 volts, million watts.
Yeah, it's getting to scary level. Yeah, and that's faster than fill up a gas station.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Yeah,
pretty good.
The other thing with BYD, so BYD, that's at the top of the line stuff. They have some very impressive top of the line stuff, but they are more known for their high volume, low end stuff. And they're bringing their cheapest vehicle now to Europe. So In China, it's known as the seagull. But for some reason, they're pretty smart, and they figured out that seagull might not fare as well as a name in Europe. Seagulls are they're not bad birds or anything like that, but they're not the top of the line birds.
Uh,
When I tell you bird, seagull is not the first bird that comes to your mind.
not on
So
the
they
good.
are an eagle in the U.S. Gonna be an eagle probably or something like
I think seagulls are
that.
called flying rats in the beach communities here.
Yeah. It's like you're not gonna name your car a pigeon or something. It's just it
Right.
doesn't make sense. So they are relaunching it as the Dolphin Surf in China. Yeah, sorry, not in China, in Europe. And this is like a decent car. So the specs in China, you see, starting at 69,000 yuan, which is less than $10,000, 190 miles of range, 205 kilometers, CLTC. So it's not, WLTC is going to be a little bit lower than that, but not that much. Then you have the version for 252 miles of range at over 400 kilometers. That this one is $12,000. The equivalent is it's not that crazy.
Crazy.
Now this is coming to Europe, but the price is going to be a little bit higher. Obviously, this is the interior too. Like the interior looks like pretty sleek for like a $10,000 car.
Not bad.
But again, it's not going to be $10,000. The expectation, the equivalent, no, that's pounds, 20,000 pounds or $26,000, which compares, it's a little bit cheaper than the Citroen EC, a bit more expensive than the Dacia Spring, but the Dacia Springs honestly looks like cheaper than the BYD. Yeah, and a 10-inch infotainment system in there. It's a little bit smaller than the ID3. It's going to have a smart driving system, though I'm sure there's going to be some limitation in Europe for it because they have different rules there.
Very Chevy Bolt-like.
Yeah, a little bit smaller, I think, too, but not that much smaller.
Smaller wheels and stuff.
And the Seagull itself is already available in Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, Chile, and the Philippines, outside of China, of course. So now it's going to be also Europe and China and those countries. All right, 2 more news articles, and then we're going to jump into the comment section. Renault unveiled the Renault 5 Turbo 3E electric hot hatch, and this thing looks insane. And it's not just a concept; it's something that's going to come to market in 2027. Though it's going to be limited production, so 1980 units. I think it's a reference to when the Renault 5 came out, I would assume, because that's a play on the old car. So we have some pictures here. So the image looked very concepty, but apparently, it's going to come close to that because you can still see the old shape, some old trims of the Renault 5 on there, on the Classic. Obviously, some much more aggressive bumper situation here and air intake on the side. We're talking in terms of specs that they released so far. 540 horsepower, 400 kilowatt system. It's not exactly light at 3,200 pounds, 1,450 kilograms. They're talking a 0 to 60 time under 3 seconds. So it's a legit hot hatch with a top speed of 162 miles per hour, 270 kilometers an hour. Did we talk about range already? Did they unveil the range? Because I don't think they're going to go too big of a batchback. No, I don't think they talk about range just yet. It's a 70 kilowatt hour for about 250 miles of range, 400 kilometers for the WLTP. 250 kilowatt charging, so that's really good too on an 800-volt system.
Yep. Although 250 miles WLTP, a little low.
Yeah, but it's a very sporty vehicle. The interior looks sick. You have a legit handbrake there too. You have the cage inside. And so that's like basically because we have already a hot hatch, though bigger, honestly, with the Ioniq 5N, which is more palatable to like the public. Let's say this is more for like people that want to actually race this. Like But yeah, it's going to be probably much more expensive since it's very limited, on less than 2,000, fewer than 2,000 units. So yeah, finally, I wanted to discuss this because I think this is interesting, and for some people, because it's kind of a new segment of pickup trucks, of electric pickup trucks that we haven't seen electrified yet, and other than in China. But this one is coming from Korea. So it's a cheap pickup truck coming from Korea, from KGM Muso. So KGM Mobility, or just KGM, they're already an established brand in Korea for their rugged 4x4 SUVs and pickup trucks. But now they're going electric with the KGM Muso EV. And big success. They already launched it. They're sold out already for the first year of production, 3,200 units in just 2 weeks. And it's interesting because, I mean, let's start with before I go into the specs, because people are gonna, yeah, the specs are not great, but it's the pricing that's important. So it's 48 million won, which is the equivalent of $32,800. And that's the starting price for the launch edition, I think, because the actual price is going to be around, oh no, that's with incentive. No, so it's the starting price of the vehicle. Okay. So for 32,800, that's like a third of a Cybertruck. Like it's half the price of the base Lightning, I think. So it's pretty cheap. What you get is an 86.6 kilowatt hour battery pack. Yeah. LFP, interestingly. They're doing LFP, which makes sense with the price. Yep. 250 miles of range, 400 kilometers. So, again, not bad for $32,000 here. 200 kilowatt charging. Again, not crazy, but not bad. Vehicle to load. We like to see that.
Yeah.
The base one's going to be forward wheel drive, 152 kilowatt front motor, 200 horses. But you can have it in all-wheel drive, 400 horses. So obviously, you're kind of going to want four-wheel drive for that if you want to do anything like meaningful with the vehicle. Because with that, you get 4,000 pounds, 1.8 ton of towing capacity. Again, not 10,000, 11,000 like a Cybertruck or a Lightning, but still, for $32,000, there's a lot you can do with that. So I thought that was interesting because obviously they're not talking about launching it outside of Korea just yet, but they might, because first of all, it is in Korea, so there's no like you could launch it in Europe, North America, especially in Canada, for example, a lot cheaper than in China because you don't have the crazy tariffs on them. So I thought this was interesting. This is like a new market segment of pickup trucks, of electric pickup truck, that could be interesting. And it looks pretty good too.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at the comment section.
Quite a few comments. Still some time to put one in there if you guys want to. Starting with Carl in San Diego. Trump threatened on his BS social media platform that he, I think that was the send people to Nicaragua. Was it Nicaragua? No, sent El Salvador.
El Salvador, yeah.
All right. Terrorism charges are not going to work. It's just vandalism. No person has been threatened, hurt, or even been around to be hurt when this vandalism happened. Yeah, I'm sure.
So far, like, let's be careful with that, people. Though, like, it's still violence. Like, what they're doing, like throwing like Molotov cocktail and all that. There's one guy. No, it was a woman, I think. Shot at one person shot at the the Oregon store. There were no one inside, correct? But still, it's not great. And all of that is not as efficient as just peaceful protests and boycotts too. So,
all right. Speculor says, has anyone been able to obtain a copy of the agreement that other companies signed with Tesla to obtain access to the superchargers that support CCS1? I don't think that, but I heard that it was like a very simple 10-pager that everyone signed. It was very simple and very straightforward.
Yeah.
All right. Elon's bogus all hands employee meeting was garbage, repeating tired lies of unlimited abundance, zero contrition for ruining Tesla's reputation. All right. Question. GM has struggled with their software initially. Is GM software now stable? Do they have a lot of features? I'm actually going to drive tomorrow a GMC Sierra EV for a week. So I will be able to report back on that. Yeah, it's a big one.
That's nice.
Yeah. What do you have you driven a GM in a while?
But yeah, not recently, no. So I cannot comment on that. I'm supposed to drive one this summer. Though this summer I'm supposed to have access to a few. They're building up their fleet in Montreal for the press.
Oh, good. It's no longer a good thing that all the automakers have accepted NACS to get access to superchargers until other manufacturers build out a robust charging network. Musk nearly has a monopoly. Not quite so simple. There's adapters and
it's an official standard now. So it's out of the hands of Tesla. It's in the heads of SAE. It's standardized. Anyone can build it. So no, I disagree with that. I disagree with it. I think it's fine.
All right, question. At what point does the Tesla board not be held accountable for breach of duty? The company is cratering and cannot be ignored. The board should not be getting millions of dollars for this. Fire Elon. It's hard to say. Like, everything happening at Tesla is kind of unprecedented. Yeah. All right, I think I might have lost Fred there.
Yeah, there's already lawsuits happening. Yeah, I'm back.
All right. Carl in San Diego, question. Do we have any details about the extent of reworking the Cybertruck needs to create blind fasteners where there were no fasteners before? Seems challenging to pull off. Is that in relation to the recall, or is that something else?
It sounds like it, but I don't know the extent of it. Like, it's going to be a pretty big job with 46,000 units, but I don't know how much work hours are needed for each one.
Carl agrees about the access to Tesla chargers and the move to NACS. People can't rely on that supposed superior network if Tesla goes under. What a massive mistake. Yeah, I don't know that Tesla's
it's not supposed superior network though. It's not a supposed.
It's for sure.
It is a superior network. Then in North America, it is. In Europe, they have some great stuff. In North America, not as much. And that's not necessarily Tesla's fault. So we cannot blame everything on Tesla. Others need to step up. It's as simple as that. So nothing's stopping them from stepping up.
All right. In 2024, Ford sold approximately 732,000 units of the F-Series. I think that's in comparison to the Cybertruck we were talking about earlier. Obviously, most of those were gas. Yeah. It's hard to reconcile my desire.
There's a lot of work needed.
Skeptic says it's hard to reconcile my desire to see EVs flourish with my desire to see Tesla fail. I think a lot of people are having that issue right now.
Yeah, but we don't want to see Tesla fail. We want to see it succeed.
Yes.
Yeah, you want to see it succeed. And I think, Skeptic, if you want EVs to flourish, you also want Tesla to succeed. You just don't want it to succeed under Elon, but I don't think you even need that. I think if you want Tesla to succeed, you need Elon out. That's more of the question.
Right. All right, moving on. F-150 Lightning specifically sold 33,000 units in 2024. And what was the Cybertruck at 2024? Do we have numbers on that?
I think 30, 38, something like that.
Yeah.
36, 38, maybe. Yeah.
All right, Speculora, Tesla doesn't have a monopoly on NACS chargers. All right, so this is what we're saying. Others have them and are building more and don't sweat supporting Tesla by using their NACS chargers. EV charging is zero profit business. It has been in the past.
It's growing. Yeah.
All right, yeah, that's the Cybertrucks comparison. Yeah. SEC insider trading crimes only counted when there was a rule of law. We no longer have that. You're right, Fred. Trump's government is banana republic. And then Asa says, I thought Tesla had started making a profit on charging. I'm concerned about the other EVs switching to NACS, and most of that is Tesla outside of a few states. All right.
Yeah,
Let's move on.
I don't think that's a big concern, to be honest.
Right. All right. At best, Tesla is around break even with charging. I think that's kind of the goal, is to be break even for now. But perhaps one of the reasons standardizing on NACS was to get higher value charging from other manufacturers, because when a Ford F-150 charges at a Tesla station, it pays more than a Tesla does.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on from charging. All right. Sorry about the conversations here. Adam Wilcox says, I wish I could afford an R2. I think a lot of people are thinking about Rivian right about now.
It's still next year, so
yeah, and they start pretty low. All right, people with a CCS car who have a NACS adapter and can supercharge are in the best spot for fast charging. The few Tesla owners with CCS adapters are in a similarly good spot. Yeah, as long as you can do both, that's the way.
Fair.
At least for the moment. The current handful of non-Teslas with NACS really should give their owners an adapter so they can charge at CCS. Yeah, still having CCS would be probably good for the time being. If they cook the books, you have a bunch of abandoned factories. I don't know if that's how that would shake out.
Yeah, if they did, but it's not clear yet.
All right, for people who will claim Tesla's sales slump is part of the larger trend, today Geely reported a 92% increase in sales of NEVs, that's neighborhood electric vehicles, and tripling of profit. All right.
No. In China, it's in China, NEVs is new energy vehicles.
Oh, new energy. Okay.
New energy vehicles. So it's mainly their battery electric plug-in hybrids. But yeah, I mean, in China, in Europe, and still in the US, it's still growing. So yeah, it's not the market trend; it's a Tesla trend.
GMA dude says EV charging stations are going to be an outdated paradigm. Most charging is going to be done at a residence, a store, while shopping, friend's resident. People are still stuck in the gas station model. Sort of agree with that. Like most people are going to charge at home or whatever, but for long trips, you still need, obviously, fast chargers on long highways and stuff. And then, of course, people who don't have home charging need that as well. Let's move on from charging. The Trump administration is going to save Tesla and turn the planet from climate change. Elon will promise to do better, and everyone will love everybody, and we all live happily ever after. Some rose-colored glasses you have there. Thank you. Tesla was an innovation 20 years ago. BYD should focus on the next EV car as the current EV cars go through a maturity of the technology. All right, gigawatt charging is
update their lineup all the time.
I think we have a little bit of a lag.
We keep talking over each other. Sorry. Yeah. I'll let you go. But go ahead.
All right, gigawatt charging is abusive to the local grid. Just not a responsible model for charging. The uncertainty of electricity demand actually wastes more power. Same problem with tankless electric water heaters. I think the idea is that it smooths out as the more you add to that, and of course batteries can help smooth that out as well. Look 5 years from now when EVs can go 600 miles and on long trips where you're going to stop and charge, not a charging station. You still need a charging station if you're going over 600 miles. And I don't think that's where cars are going. 600 miles is way too much to be carrying around. The original R5 Turbo and Turbo 2 had mid-engine, so rear seat was deleted. If this R5 Turbo 3E loses the rear seat just to make it race-like, yeah, I think it's just extra weight that takes out. The Chinese are going to kick our butt. Maybe? Oh, yeah, the cage. The Chinese are going to kick our butt because the ignorance that permeates the U.S. culture today. It kind of feels like that with our redonkulous banana republic. The tariffs on China are a joke. Only 14% of exports go to the U.S., so 86% of Chinese exports are not affected by tariffs. The tariffs on China and other places are tax on U.S. citizens, not named countries, so Americans pay the tariffs on stuff from China, Mexico, and Canada. Yep, it's all kind of true. You cannot boot Elon from Tesla and call the protest a success. Tesla must fail to defang Musk as he is using all that wealth as an oligarch to undermine democracy. Yes, that's also, it would be a nice bonus if Tesla stock goes down quite a bit. And then Skeptic also agrees new energy vehicles is NEV. That's all the comments.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening to the Electrek podcast this week. We appreciate your time. If you did enjoy the show, please give us a thumbs up, a like, everything. We appreciate it when you do. It's free to do. It takes a second. And we're going to see you same time, same place next week. I'm going to be in Las Vegas testing out the new Audi. So I'm going to be excited by that. And Seth's going to come out with the Sierra EV Denali. So that we're going to both be testing some pretty high-end vehicle next week. All right.